episode of the Hooligans Pitch 2024 edition. Chad, Happy New Year.
Hey, Happy New Year.
Another one in the books. Another one
That's
started up. Can't wait for 2024 and all it might bring to us, including all of those in the football world. However, in this month, we're seeing roughly 20 players leaving us and going away to tournaments in the middle of a season. That's a little harsh, if you ask me.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of works out, I guess, a little bit for Premier League. They sort of take their winter break now-ish. Like, I think they're only going to miss, any FA Cup game and then maybe 2 league games, maybe 3.
I count 4 league games, but some players
4.
could miss up to 9 competitive matches. Taro Endo with Liverpool could miss up to 9 if they make it all the way, which Japan will probably go pretty far. So little worrisome for some of the teams lacking depth, like Forest losing. How many did you say?
6.
6 players. That's one.
Yeah, I mean they got a big squad as it is, so they're probably gonna be fine.
That's true. I think, and I heard over their game, 27 players were on their roster at the moment, so they gotta cut that down a little bit and find out who really belongs. But
Nuno will do it. He'll pull him out when he needs to.
He'll find a way. But just to let you know, we're trying dry January right now. Nothing too crazy. Kristen said, let's do it. I said, I will do it up until X day when I'm saying, hey, I'm going to have a beer. I'm not really thinking too much about it. So we're hydrating tonight.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm with you on the hydration, not specifically for a dry January, but just feeling the water tonight.
Water tastes good. It's one of those days. All right, Chad, let's jump into it. Eventful weekend, eventful weekdays. I guess we can start on Saturday. Is there any game on that list of games in there that you see that you're just dying to talk about?
I mean, none of them like really jumped out that I like need to talk about them necessarily. But I think my most surprising one, well, the Nottingham Forest for Man U is surprising, but we'll get to that one, I think. I'd say that the Wolves versus Everton, I expected more of a show from Everton here.
Me too.
It just seemed like, I don't know, Everton's defense was just kind of all over the place, or like just communication was lacking or something. I don't really know, but Wolves took full advantage of that. And it was just kind of a weird scoreline, I think.
The goals that Kilman and Dawson had were unusual. The goal that Cunha had, that Huang Hee-chan assisted on, that was pretty straightforward. Nice ball in, but the other 2 goals were kind of just scrap fests. Where I thought Pickford did actually a decent job of the initial save of them. But then his defense just couldn't clear the ball, and it looked like everyone was pouncing on the ball, besides Evertonian players. So, when your defense doesn't want to pounce like the Wolves, that's going to be a problem. And I think they just got out hustled.
It's just weird to see, like Everton and, especially any Sean Dyche team we've seen, it typically in defense is like really well structured. And if they lose the game, it's not because of a lack of clearing the ball. Like,
for sure,
they're normally really good at that. So it's just so weird to see Wolves kind of have that easy day. But we did get to see Pedro Neto back on the pitch.
Congrats.
Which is great for my fantasy team.
I will say,
almost got a goal though. He got called off.
It was close. I will say though, when you brought Neto in, I feel like this is kind of when things crumbled for you. So it's nice to have him back, but
I mean, like it's I mean, he was kind of when things really took a turn, and like now everyone's just out and injured on my team. But that's fantasy for you. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't.
You got hit hard, my friend.
Yeah,
that was a brutal one. So yeah, actually Everton, I don't think they're gonna lose too many players to the cup. Wolves, however, are gonna lose their top goal scorer in Huang. Yes. So that, I think that's gonna be they're only missing a couple games, but again, they can miss a lot. At least the four
Hmm.
EPL games, and for the Wolves, that's pretty important. So I know the Neto and Wang relationship, on field chemistry was super. Like it was starting to. It felt like it was at its peak when Neto
Hmm.
got hurt, and now it's just going to take a little bit longer for us to see that again, which is kind of a bummer because we were paying close attention to the Wolves when they were both clicking, and now
Hmm.
we got to wait another month until we can see it
Yeah.
again. So I'm hoping Neto can stay, um, healthy and fit by the time Huang gets back, and I hope Huang stays healthy with all these extra
Yeah.
games he's playing too.
Yeah. And I mean, the Wolves team seems to kind of finally be gelling well together and all kind of playing for each other. So
Mm-hmm.
I think they should be able to get by without Huang out there getting the goals. We'll see. I mean, yeah, that's just kind of the unfortunate part of this schedule, but um, yeah, I hope Neto can just, he got his first step back onto the pitch, nearly scored. Um, so he's like, it looks like he's coming back with a fire. Like,
Did he look good
not
though? Did he look good in his runs?
yeah, he looked good. He looks, healthy. Hopefully he actually is, and he's not just like playing through the pain.
Mm. Um, with the Wolves, they're the only team right now who's won the last 3 games. One more win, they move into top 10. I think this next one up against Brighton, I think that'll be an interesting matchup considering Brighton is, Stupion, we've realized, is a huge part of how that team attacks and defends. And
Mhm.
I think that can make for a really good matchup. We're not going to see that, of course, for a couple weeks,
Yeah.
after our break. But that's going to be one that I'm going to be eyeing and kind of circling on my match
Yeah.
day to check out.
I mean, I'm just looking ahead a little bit further, and like Wolves do have a little bit of a interesting run. They got Brighton next, and then Man U after, and
Ooh,
then
tasty.
Chelsea,
Mm.
which is their 10-11 counterpart there. So yeah, not the opportune time to not have your number one striker, but
Yeah,
see if they can make do.
I believe in them.
Yeah.
I think they'll be all right. Um, I think the game that kind of stood out to me this weekend was a game last year we paid close attention to, and that was the Bournemouth Tottenham game, um,
Hmm.
where Bournemouth put up such a crazy fight in both matches, winning one and losing one. Tottenham getting the late winner in the first round matchup last year, and in this one we kind of saw a dud from Bournemouth, and I was kind of disappointed
Yeah.
by it because they were starting to. I felt like they were clicking. They were winning four
Hmm.
games in a row, and Solanke was looking really good, and Billions was looking good, and it was like they looked kind of bigger than everyone else. And granted, their strikers and their overall forwards are just quite tall, but I don't know. Spurs kind of sliced and diced them here. Maybe they were a little tired after Christmas. They had a good stretch of games. Now, granted, they won 4 in a row. Like that's
Yeah.
great. I don't know what else you really expect from that, especially taking down Man United in the process. Um, Again, a lot of people are doing that these days, but it's still an accomplishment that I think people need to pay attention to. So that was kind of my pooper
Yeah.
for the weekend.
Yeah. I certainly expected more from Bournemouth than that. It was just kind of a weird one. Like as I was kind of watching through it and looking at the highlights and all that, like if you look at just the stats, it looks very even, I guess you'd say. Like similar pass numbers, similar tackles, similar dribbles, similar touches. Bournemouth has more shots, just pretty much all off target. So like they were there to play, but I don't know, they just couldn't maybe find that final touch that they needed to really get it over the line. And then their defense just wasn't on it that day, I guess. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was kind of a bummer. I think, especially after last season, we were expecting a little bit tighter affair, but that's the festive period. You get some weird results in there. Not that Tottenham winning this is necessarily a weird result, but I think just the performance from Bournemouth is a little bit weird considering how well they had been playing.
Well, they timed this perfectly because Bournemouth is the type of team that loses a game and bounces back really strong. So of course they're playing Liverpool next when we get back. So I'll be
That's a trap.
yes. So fully expecting a nail biter. Probably would be standing and doing laundry watching that game because I can't sit still when things are a little stressful. But anyway, let's we can chalk off City and Sheffield. City again down they're arguably their best three players right now, Haaland, Doku, and De Bruyne. But they're set to return. They're looming back, and I think I don't know. I see a lot of comments online being like the boys are coming in. Like, is the EPL ready? I'm like, I think they are. I think everyone's ready and prepared for what's to come. I mean, we don't know what De Bruyne is going to look like. He's been kind of frail the last couple years, even.
I mean, I was going to say the past handful of seasons, he basically had a decent injury spell at some point, right? And like this was obviously the biggest one he's had, but we'll just kind of see what kind of fire he comes back with. It's maybe a little bit of that same, we've won it all, so he's not really coming back to, with the mindset to push City further to get the league win or get the Champions League win. I mean, I'm sure he's thinking that, but like, it's not that same drive since he's been there, done that now. So yeah, I don't know. I think it'll maybe take a game or two, and then all the commentators I think will calm down on the like they're coming to take over the league sort of stuff. It's just I get it, big three names and especially Haaland and De Bruyne. We've seen how they work together and how well it is, but I think teams are getting better at marking Haaland out of games a little bit more. Not to say that De Bruyne's passing can, find him some space, but
20 assists,
we'll see.
Chad. 20 assists last year.
I know,
That's,
so like
that's the stat we got to look at, right?
So he's definitely going to be a danger, but even just how City's been playing this year, I think is, says enough that the league is maybe not as scared as they once were of City.
That's the thing. I keep seeing all these graphics of showing where Man City was at the Christmas break, and it's like, yeah, but that team they were fighting for so much. Like you're right. The mentality is so different from previous years to this year, just because they did it all right. Like, I feel like last year when they didn't win, when they were preparing for Champions League, all these games were so important to them because they still had to make sure they're in the perfect team composition and everything was clicking right so they could achieve something, granted 6 months later, but they needed to look perfect in January to get to that point. And now, I don't know, I look at this team, I'm like, who's the leader of this team right now? Is it Rodri?
Probably. I mean, they falter when he's not in the team, right? So
yeah, so with De Bruyne coming back, we see him as a pretty soft-spoken type of player, not really loud, but on the pitch, will he command that a little more off of Rodri? I'm just really curious. I'll be honest with you, I don't really remember that relationship last year, because last year was kind of, I don't want to say it was perfect for them, but everything kind of clicked and went their way. This year it hasn't. It's been kind of rocky. So if the ship starts to rock in a month or two, I don't know. I'm curious how those star level players clash. If they do clash or they move past it, I don't know. It's an interesting thought that I'm trying to look ahead at.
Yeah, I mean, I think he should come back in and slot back in fairly well, but I don't know. I feel like it's just not the same beast that they were last season.
Sure.
They've had some pretty big stumbles already, and I I don't know. Like De Bruyne is certainly a big name to get back, but I don't think he's the one player that'll, now just supercharge the team and get them all super laser focused and back on track like they were. I'm sure they're still going to go on some stupid run here at the end of the season and make the title race close. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it kind of plays out. I did kind of take a look though at Foden playing as the cam. Because you don't really see that too much. He's, we always kind of see him on the wing, and he does well there for himself and when he connects with Holland. But then this game, he plays that center attacking role and grabs 2 assists and had like 6 key passes in there too. So he's, creating really well. So then I kind of looked back and was just seeing why wasn't he used here more often, especially during this period with no De Bruyne. And I don't really have an answer for you, but the first time this season he was used in that role was October 12th away at Luton. Didn't really do much. City kind of struggled there for...
It was Holland the striker?
No, I think Holland's... no, I think he was in that one. But it was one of those games where they struggled for... like 60-ish minutes, and then they got their like 2 goals back to back, they do. Then his next game, I didn't write the team for that one. I just put finding his way in the role, not great. So whatever team that was against, it didn't go very well. And then he had his game against Palace. He gets 1 assist. But he did make that late challenge to give away the penalty to Palace. So, still a little rough. And then he played there again against Everton where he got a goal. He had 7 shots, only 2 were on target, but 3 key passes. So he is kind of growing into that role.
But don't you think it's going to go away soon if De Bruyne?
That's kind of what I'm wondering, though.
Like,
is
who are they going to take off the pitch here?
Yeah, so I think you maybe push Foden back out to the right. I guess you're probably sacrificing like a Bernardo Silva. Just because if with Foden on the right, he kind of already can work on the wing. But then if he is kind of training more as a center creative player, him and De Bruyne can maybe kind of swap throughout the game, cause some issues maybe. So I don't know. It was just kind of interesting to walk back a little bit. He only played Cam once last season. It was a 1-0 win over Chelsea. Couldn't find the stats for it. Who scored doesn't go back last season.
Really?
So
They don't go back 1 season?
No, not that I saw. So that was kind of annoying. So I don't know how he did in that game, but yeah. So I think maybe Pep kind of has an eye for him as moving more central. I think it would be interesting to see him kind of play this role with England, just because your wings are kind of settled in the English squad, and now you got Bellingham and probably Rice behind you in the midfield, so like you can just sit up top and eat all day, and you're gonna be pretty good. So I hope we see that. I would be more interested to see that than him do anything good with City. So
speaking of cams, I mean, I think England's in a really good spot right now with 3 key players. I know we're kind of going off the EPL trend here, but I like what Foden's doing. I think he's going to fit in nicely. Cole Palmer's really coming alive right now. Another young guy who can fit into that squad nicely. And then I got to give it out to Morgan Gibbs-White. He's looking like a real feisty player, and I think he's going to be really important for Forest to stay up. And those are all great attacking midfielders who are kind of going to take that spot of Madison just because he can't stay on the pitch as much. And even Rashford, because like Rashford's just been a dud for so long. So what are we waiting for here? I'd like to see kind of a fresh faces in the squad there. And I don't know. I think those guys are proving it a little. I mean, definitely more than Rashford for sure. All 3 of them. Now, position wise, you'll have to figure some things out. I mean, who's going to come in at left wing for England right now? Couldn't really tell you, but I mean, you could work Foden in there too, and do a swap of positions when you need it. But that's a Southgate issue.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the English attack I think has promise, but I think as we've seen with the England team, it sometimes doesn't really come to fruition, whether that's just through poor footballing luck or Southgate's tactics. I don't know, but yeah, I'd give Foden a shot at a cam kind of option. There's got to be a game here that doesn't mean anything or that they should win easily where you can try them out and just see what happens.
I fully expect you to take them in Euros now when we do our pool.
Well, we'll see.
All right, should we get to the Sleepy Forest game?
Yeah. Forest just putting legends to sleep,
Forest and Man United, the oldest living Manchester United legend, fell asleep at the 74th minute, watching Man United go down 1-0. Granted, Man U came back from a gift-wrapped mistake from Morgan Gibbs-White, just to fit with our Christmas theme. But then Morgan Gibbs-White comes back, slots a beautiful goal. He's almost down and out in this game, limping across the pitch. I don't know if you watched the end of this in real time. The dude was dying, Chad. They didn't have any more subs. He was literally limping to go defend, and I was like, this game needs to end quick. And his teammates kind of bailed him out and made sure he wasn't in a spot where he'd have to do something to save his team or even put his body in a worse place than it already was. But gotta give it up for Forrest here and what Nuno's doing. Again, new coach. Cooking. He is cooking. New coach energy is a real thing. They have it right now, and I hope they can ride it out.
Yeah, they looked. I mean, they just look so much more lively than this United squad. I'd say the whole game. Yeah. And I'd say both of their goals just was bad, slow defending. They don't really press. Who made the assist? It's been like almost a week now.
Montiel, yeah, on the
they don't really press him, and it leaves Dominguez open, just wide open, ready to go. And then kind of the same thing, Alonga makes that run in. They don't exactly press him, but then he finds the easy pass to Gibbs White, and he's just like open at the top of the box.
Slots it so easily. It's Man United's got to be kicking themselves for not having Alonga anymore either. Like
that feels like a mistake.
Well, that's their MO.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what that club's doing. We already had that episode about this.
Yeah, we did a whole 40 minutes just on that. We don't have to talk about this too much. I was just that was a great game to watch. I won't lie, it made me go out and buy a Matt Turner jersey because I was like, I think Nuno's, he's sticking with him. He's sticking with him. I hope.
I mean, he had some great saves.
He did. He just needs to calm down a little bit and just make smarter decisions when just kind of in that neutral zone when you don't need to do anything crazy. You don't need to do anything special.
Yeah. I mean, he was when he first came to Arsenal, he was already kind of saying that playing with the ball at his feet and passing is like certainly not his game. So it was things he was going to work on, and it definitely improved over his time at Arsenal. And it's just kind of the way of modern goalkeeping is like you kind of have to be somewhat adequate. I'd say he's almost somewhat adequate. It just
on a good day.
Yeah, like it's not consistent enough where I don't think you want to rely on passing out from the back with him.
Okay. That's okay.
Which is fine. Yeah, you don't have to play that.
There's like a handful of keepers who play like that at a exceptional level. Granted, Onana plays great with the ball at his feet, but he does everything else wrong. So it's like you don't want to be Onana right now.
No,
So even
yeah.
though he's great on his feet, he makes so many bad decisions, and I think he's just overthinking it. Because when he plays for United States, that dude doesn't mess up.
Oh
So
yeah.
why isn't it matching in England? So I hope the coach can just say, hey, like, you're my guy moving forward. I think he needs to
Mhm.
know that, and maybe
Yeah.
things will kind of calm down. I don't know. I just want to see our American boys do well over there, and he's
Yeah.
the one I worry about, because if he's not playing in every match he possibly can, should he be starting for the United States? That's my worry.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know who our
Horvath.
Horvath, but he's also on
Yep.
Forest.
Yep.
So like you can't have
I
two
know.
of
Two
your,
reserves.
number one keepers
Uh,
not even playing.
I think next
And
would be
then
Stefan, but
yeah, you go beyond that and then you I think he just I think I saw an article he signed for
Colorado.
MLS.
Colorado.
Yeah, so like which is great to get the game time, but like if you have two keepers in the Premier League, you would ideally want at least one of them to get
For sure.
normal minutes in the much better league that is Premier League. So fingers crossed. Nuno, do the right thing.
Please. Shout outs to you.
Yeah.
All right, Chad, you want to pick a game in here?
Um,
What you got?
that Luton Chelsea game.
Oh man.
It was a tussle. Nearly Chelsea nearly threw away a 3-goal lead.
This isn't. I don't like using this phrase often, but I felt like Luton let Chelsea win that game. They made so many mistakes that
Mhm.
led to their goals. Grand Cole Palmer's goal, nominee goal of the week. Fantastic feat. That was insane.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But other than that, Chelsea didn't really do anything spectacular to that I thought. I mean, they played fine, but I think
Mhm.
Luton, they just gave that game away, and that was something they really could have. I don't know, especially early on. I know late they came back and started to stress Chelsea out, and I'm sure
Yeah.
you saw Thiago going, "What the hell was that?" And I don't believe that's what Chelsea needs. Honestly, it's about time someone has done that. I just don't like the 38-year-old man out there has to tell all these kids, like, what are we doing? Like, it needs to come from
Yeah.
somewhere else right now, I think. And that would be my worry for Chelsea is you barely got by on this game. You made so many mistakes. You're still in the middle of the table. You
Mhm.
barely beat a relegation team.
Yeah, I'll give them a little bit benefit of the doubt because we've seen Luton at home is a different beast. But most of these teams that are struggling away at Luton don't go 3-0 up and then almost scramble that. So Chelsea, I think, lucky to get away with the win. Luton had some great opportunities when they really turned it on towards the end. Yeah, I don't know. I know they got injuries all in like all areas of the pitch, and you maybe don't want to have to be relying on Thiago Silva at this point, but you are, and I think that's okay. But again, yeah, it shouldn't be him.
Begging.
Yeah, like there should be fire all over the pitch for Chelsea of like, whoa, like that was too close for comfort. We need to really get it together. And it looked like everyone else was just like, cool, game's done, shake hands, high five. And Thiago's the only one out there just like could not believe what just happened.
Could not believe it. And interesting insight here, Chad. August 25th, Chelsea beat Luton 3-0.
Mm.
So maybe they thought this game was in the bag because they already did it. And Luton almost proved them wrong. Almost.
Yeah, almost got him. Almost ruined the day.
How did Maduke score? I think I missed that one.
It was like a kind of a top close post hit. Really tight angle for that ball. It was very nice. I like Palmer's better, but Yeah, it was good hit, nice. Like, it kind of reminded me of Salah's goal against Arsenal. Is that like kind of just like top corner, good power, good position on it.
Blasting it.
Um, hard to save. Yeah.
Okay. I might have missed that one. I'm going to go back and look at it. All right, I got nothing more on that game. Do you?
No, yeah, I'm good.
Aston Villa, Burnley. Burnley, man, almost. They're coming back too in this one. I know we see fight. I know we see some fight from these relegation teams, especially against the best three teams in the Premier League right now. Arsenal, Liverpool, and Aston Villa have struggled going against these teams. I was so high on Aston Villa for the last couple of months, and now in these last like 4 games, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think of them. Is that weird?
Yeah,
Is that crazy?
It felt like no. It felt like they were cruising, like flying high. You know, maybe not in total control of their games, but
Felt unbeatable though, like kind of
yeah,
unbeatable.
yeah, like really feeling it, and then been a little like rocky or something since then. Just doesn't feel as fluid, I guess, as they were playing.
It was the draw against Sheffield, the loss against Man United, and then getting away with beating Burnley here. The last 3, and I think it's valid that we are all saying, you know, are you going to contend for this title? Because it's crazy how many headlines right now say Arsenal, Liverpool, City fighting for the title, and it's like, dude, Aston Villa was top of the table like yesterday, and they're not even in the conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know what they have to do to prove that they need to be in these headlines, but with the last 3 performances, they're not helping.
Yeah. Just trying to see. I mean, so 2 weeks they got, or 2 match days, I guess. They got Newcastle, so like if they can get the win there, it might give them some more of that spotlight of maybe a serious contender here. But I don't know. I think they probably like flying under the media radar right now and not having the pressure of necessarily being included in that title race, even though they are. Yeah, I don't know. They gotta just figure out whatever weird juju's going on in their play right now. Get back to what they were doing, because it was looking great. They got the good results with it too, and
you beat Arsenal and City back to back like that.
Yeah,
that gets your name out there, and it is big. They play Man United again in a month, and I think that'll be another statement game. If you can't lose to a team twice who are lower than you in the table, I think that just especially when you're fighting for the title, right? That doesn't look good for your chances. So yeah, I'll be keeping my eye on them, but I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried about my predictions, because if City's going to go on a run here, okay, that means Villa might fall out, right? And then with West Ham beating Arsenal, I could see them making a push in the top 4. Tottenham still don't really know what they are at this point. I think they're just going to linger. They'll linger between 7 and 5, 4 maybe. But we'll see. With Son gone, I don't know.
It'll be some interesting games without him there, because him and Richarlison seem to be clicking well. So we'll kind of see what happens with that. Madison's still out. They have some other injuries in the back.
Is he close?
So
is Madison close?
I think everyone's kind of getting the January 14th return date. A lot of the big injuries seem to have that as a return date. So nothing confirmed, I don't think.
Romero's out for the whole month. I mean, they got some good players out too, just from going to the cup. So yeah, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, but I mean, I think just based on how they're playing and kind of the stats that they have so far this season, like that float between like 7th and 5th, I guess, at their peak feels right. I mean, you look at so Liverpool, top of the table right now, your goal differential's 25, only allowed 18 goals. Whereas Tottenham is, your goal differential's 13 and you've allowed 29 goals.
Mm.
Sure, you're scoring almost the same as Liverpool, but as we've seen, they'd rather just outscore you than like defend it.
Yep.
Which, I don't think is great in the long run of the season to really secure you one of those top spots, especially with, City inevitably will go on some run. If Villa kind of gets back to their ways, like their defense was looking really good, just as their scoring was. So yeah, I feel like we just said this about Tottenham when they, first kind of got some injuries and some suspensions to see how they do, and they made it through, but I'd say they kind of floundered. Like they had some losses and draws in there. But you still had Son on the pitch at least, and now you're missing Son and a couple other guys to the cup. So we'll see.
They got Man United when we come back, and I think that could actually be fairly interesting because Man United's not really losing.
I did see that Onana's playing in that game and then going.
Correct,
so
which is one of the only players in the Premier League who I think is doing that. So
yeah, the only one I've seen reported.
Kind of shocking they're letting that happen.
Yeah.
Bassar and Basuma, I mean, those are huge losses.
Yeah.
So what, they'll be down 3 to 4, Tottenham 3 to 4 starting players due to either injury or for the cup. So yeah, it's a little worrisome.
Yeah. Well,
but I'm okay with it. I'll allow it.
Yeah, it's that's just how it goes. Like they don't really have the depth needed to, I think, make a real sustained push. And that's where they're at right now. The depth is the issue.
Their expectations were set so low, and when they went on that crazy beginning of the season run, I think it just like made people, especially their own fans, get a little bit too that's the right word, big-headed, and just their ideas became just a little bit too just too big for what's really for reality.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like sure, they're 6 points off top of the table.
Wow, it doesn't feel like 6.
It doesn't feel like 6, and I get they're playing, pretty quick attacking football, and that's all fun to watch. And 6 points off the top feels generous, I think, for some of the things we've seen. And I just think it comes back to tactics and depth that are both a little bit lacking to really get you to push for a whole season like that, and certainly get past a mostly healthy Liverpool, a mostly healthy City. Arsenal is doing Arsenal things these days, but it come that next North London derby, form, injuries, all that just goes out the window, and it's just a crazy mess of goals and who knows what. But
all right, then the last game we had on Saturday, Palace and Brentford. Pretty uneventful game. Good to see Palace get the win because I think we're on Team Hodgson at this point. Elise with some nice goals. Eze getting on the score sheet. I thought that was a nice victory for them. But the Lewis Potter goal, man, that was pretty sweet too.
Oh yeah, I like really
that
nice.
One. Liked his celebration too. He was pretty hyped.
Yeah, I think Brentford's just kind of really feeling the injuries and the Ben Mee suspension and stuff. Like, it just, I don't know, feel a little bit like they were kind of floating and sustaining, and now they're just kind of like sinking fast. They really need
scratching and going to hang on for as long as they can. I fully agree with you, and that's not even like their. I mean, it is their fault, but it feels out of their control. They're losing Wisa in the African Cup. The whole Tony situation happened. a couple bad games here and there, losing Rhea. I mean, there's a lot of like things that went into this. I mean,
Yeah.
last year was such a high for them. Um, to come down, I think was realistic. Now to drop where they are now, I think is definitely a surprise. But
Hmm.
I from this year to next year, I can see them bouncing back. I really can.
Yeah. I mean,
They
they.
still have quality players. They're there. They just all
Mhm.
need to be playing together.
Yeah. And I mean, you've played over half the season without your starting striker, right? Like that's pretty good to not be in the relegation zone with
Mm-hmm.
a big miss like that, and losing a Mbumo to injury, long term injury, kind of really throws a wrench in things for them. Um,
Rico, he started so hot. He was so
yeah,
good.
yeah, he would
Um,
have been a big help.
yep.
They've got some big misses, and I think they'll be okay this season. I don't even think their coach should be too worried. Like if I'm Brentford's board, it's like, yeah, we played half the season without our striker. Of course, it's not going to be the best season.
And Thomas Frank's the third longest tenured coach in Premier League, I think, at this point.
Mm,
Um,
yeah,
I
probably.
think
Yeah,
he's been with them for 5 years now. If you get rid of him, who are you going to bring in? You know,
yeah. That's always the question now. Is like, okay, maybe yeah, you switch to someone and you do get that new manager bump, and maybe it works out longer term too. But I just don't think there's a lot of great options right now to bring in, especially it just you haven't seen Brentford with Tony this season, so it feels really harsh to even judge them harshly
yep.
when they're missing that. And um, he should be back soon. I don't think he's going to get sold anywhere. I don't think anyone's going to come in with this 100 million offer for Tony. At least not in the winter window. So yeah, I think they'll climb back up, but yeah, they were able to sustain for a little bit, and I think that was big.
Mm-hmm.
Had they started falling right away, it would have got ugly. But
Five
then
in a
they,
row though. Lost 5 in a row.
yeah, yeah,
They gotta
yeah,
change that quick.
definitely on the struggle bus right now. Who they got next? Oh yeah, um, Forest when I get back. So
Hmm.
I mean, a good game, but that could be kind of the game they need. 15-16 battle. So
Yep.
everyone's playing for it, and no one's gonna really be sitting back and just defending. So yeah.
So before this Crystal Palace win, um,
Hmm.
Roy Hodgson was kind of on the hot seat, right? He's doing some
Hmm.
crazy things, and we love it, but realistically, you got to be there to make sure your team wins. Uh, there was a coach. The rumor is a new coach was around who could possibly replace them, and that name was Steve Cooper. And I was like, really? What, really? Like the guy who just got fired from Forest is going to come into Crystal Palace and be their savior? I thought that was such a bizarre rumor that was going around, and it was even broadcasted over the commentary before that game started. And they're like, I think whoever was commentating, I don't know who it was. They're like, I think these
Hmm.
players would really react to Cooper's youth and his energy. And I'm like, I have not once seen that guy show like really any signs of emotion. And you got
No.
Roy over here who's spitting on the field and getting all high. I was like, what are they talking about? I was like, do they not see how energetic this 76-year-old man is? Granted, he
Yeah.
doesn't probably relate to anything um,
Yeah.
that the Crystal Palace players, I don't know, do or say or whatever it
Hmm.
might be. But I don't know. Roy's got a big brain. He's been around for so long. That replacement was just kind of wild. It felt like a just a random crapshoot name to throw out
Yeah.
there, and it made no sense to me. And I really hope that's not the direction Palace goes in, because you go from Patrick Vieira to Roy Hodgson to Steve Cooper, it just is
Yeah. That just
interesting.
seems
Backwards.
it backwards, or at most just like a sideways movement. It's not an upgrade, I wouldn't say. Like, look where Forest is this season. Even where they're at last season. Like, yes, Steve Cooper got them up into Premier League, and was able to keep them up at least for one season. But I think Crystal Palace, you got some exciting players on that team in Eze, Elise, um, Schlupp is always doing pretty good. Guehi, Anderson in the back, like some quality players there that I think probably do need a little bit more, um, I guess, modernized
Yeah, polishing a little
setup.
bit.
Yeah, but
Mateta, I
to
like him too.
yeah, like they got quality there. I don't think Roy is it long term. Like he just kind of came back to save them, as he seems to do now. But I don't think Steve Cooper's the guy either. Like if anything, he would just be making another Forest, right? Like,
Yeah, there's a couple things they need to tweak, and I don't think this team's not going to be top 5. They're not going to make Europe
no,
anytime
yeah,
soon.
yeah,
Survival is their goal, and to make a switch like this for another coach who got fired because he was barely making his team survive, just it didn't fit. It didn't jive with me. So I was like,
no.
we're not going to go there. All right, Chad. We usually do our teams first, but today we saved them for the back end.
We've been skirting around them.
Yeah, there's a lot that went down with you. Do you want to take the lead here? Do you want to, end on a sad Arsenal note? Or you want to end on a high Liverpool note?
No, well, it always end on a high.
Okay. Well, let's get into it. Fulham did, I won't lie, kind of did what I thought they would do. Coming off some terrible
Trap
losses, total trap game. Our boy Raul Jimenez came back and said, "I'm going to score against you," and I'm back. All this team needs is a number 9, which makes me think like it wasn't Mitrovic, it was Fulham, and
I guess
they just need a pure number 9. It doesn't need to be awesome; it just needs to be average, and he's gonna bag some goals.
Yeah, he's just gotta occupy that space up there, and then they just like work around him. Yeah. But man, this was just bad. Just bad football from Arsenal.
What's going on with their defense? I think that's the main focus point for me is last year it was like they took so much pride.
Mm-hmm.
And this year it just looks sloppy. I mean, does this all come down to,
I mean, I don't think you could say this year.
well,
I'd say
in their losses. In their losses it just looks so much worse than I guess their losses from last year. Granted, there were not that many from last year, but the fights they had, it just looks different.
Yeah. Like there's a stat going around. I think Arsenal has the most goals conceded from like as a result of a error from one of their own players, which I guess is a true stat.
Who is they specify who's making those errors?
No, it's just by team. I mean, Zinchenko's at least like 2 of them. So, but I think really that while it's a bad stat, it's almost kind of also a nothing stat. Just because like Arsenal's defense has, I think, been pretty solid. So it has taken, individual error to kind of give up goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's something to note, but I don't think it's as bad of a stat as it maybe sounds, and like is kind of being criticized as is getting passed around. It's one of those that just, I don't know. To me, it doesn't really mean much other than like Arsenal's defense has been good, and this is how they're losing it, just through like individual like mess ups. But here, oh well, I don't even know what to say about Arsenal's play here. It's just like it's just bad. It was slow. I'd say uninspired for majority of the game. It looked like they had their New Year's party the night before. Maybe they did. They were trying something else. I don't know. But yeah, like Saka gets a lucky deflection from Leno, and I think had that not happened, I don't think Arsenal are scoring in this game anyway. So
But that was previous to when Martinelli drove down the field, though, right? And it was on his, he had his rocket boots on, and he was flying,
mhm,
and that's when the ball kind of scrambled around the box.
mhm.
But that's that point of the game was what I saw Arsenal do so much last year, and that's how Martinelli
Yeah,
earned that name, Rocket Boots, right? Um, it happened once this game, and that was it, and it just felt like a dud.
yeah. I mean, yeah, like I think it's a little bit like I was saying last episode that in Arteta's pursuit for not only control but domination, I think it's really slowed the transition down and um, just the overall play. Like
Why is he trying to
he's
fix what's not broken?
so yeah. So I think like Tottenham this season almost reminded me of Arsenal last season in that it
Hmm.
was very attack focused, very quick, um, fluid kind of play. Which yeah, will get you goals. But then we also saw Arsenal either lose games because of that play or get in these bad situations where it's like the Bournemouth game where you like go down 2-0 pretty much right away, like Southampton, West Ham, Arsenal went up 2 and then gave it away. Like so I think he kind of reverted to like solidify the defensive side of it, which has worked. And then he wants, total control of this game, which is mostly working, but in doing that, I think he's his tactics and coaching of players I think has become very risk averse. So they're not making the like line breaking passes that you would want to see, at least not as often as you'd like to see. They're not really doing, the big balls over the top like the Trent to Salah kind of ball. Like um, you're not really allowing your fast, creative players to really have that freedom. Um, so I think he has to find that balance now. He got his total domination game I think against Brighton is like as close as we've seen him achieve that goal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then all season, goal scoring has kind of been maybe not an issue, but certainly not what it was last season. Um, so yeah, I think it'll be if Arteta and his staff can kind of find the tweaks they need to make to allow that, and um, that they are missing Thomas Partey in the middle. He was really good at making a lot of those line breaking passes. Zinchenko can kind of do that, but then Zinchenko and Thomas Partey are both just injury prone, to say the least. You know, Partey's been out for a while now. Zinchenko was out for this one, I think, with I think it was calf strain or something. So I don't think it's anything too long, but certainly missed this game. Um, yeah, it just it was just one of those games where like we got the early goal, and I like obviously kept watching, and I was like, this feels wrong. Like I don't doesn't feel like we should be in the lead. And then when they got their goal back, I was like, okay, like I think Arsenal need to get a goal before, like within like 15, 20 minutes, or this is just not going to work out. At least in the sense of a win, I wasn't necessarily thinking a loss. Um, and then the second half, I think it was I should have written it down, but I think it was between minute 65 and 90 or something. Like Arsenal didn't have a shot on target,
Oof.
so it's like you're not going to win that way, obviously. So I think it was as much as it is like the tactical issue. I think it was just that weird, festive game, lots of games back to back. People got off. People are just dropped out of form randomly. Like I think a lot of things kind of came together to make this as bad as it was. I don't think it's a an alarm for the rest of the season or anything. I think they'll be able to piece it back together and kind of get back into the swing of things. But it was ugly.
Not the prettiest of games. I think when Polina made that block on Saka, I said, and he came up fired up. I said, this is not good for Arsenal.
Nah.
This is not
Yeah,
good.
Fulham played great. They were very energetic and closing down Arsenal
Mm-hmm.
players real quick. Again, I think Arsenal just played too slow in that, so
They kept
kind of
them out
played
of
into
areas
that.
that were. They let Arsenal play in areas where they weren't going to cause any harm. And I
Yeah,
think in that 65 to 90-minute range that you talked about, they did a really good job of just making sure they weren't making runs inside and shutting down Saka Martinelli. I mean, I think this team needs a number 9 bad. Nketiah hasn't scored a league goal in over a
mm-hmm.
year. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what I read, over a year now. That's a problem if
I
he's
think
starting for
an
Liverpool.
away goal.
Away
An
goal.
away.
That's right, away
I
goal.
think.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's the argument that comes up too now is like, is this just a you need like a proper striker thing? Which I don't know where I sit on that, because I think it is just a bigger tactical issue, and just the wrong balance of like attacking play and control, right? And yeah, for me, like Martinelli and Saka just obviously being asked to sit like pretty much on the touchline, right? Like, which, they're wingers. That's area they should occupy, but I think they're almost being asked to sit out there too much and like so rigid to stay out there that they get the ball, but then okay, a team sends over 2 guys, blocks them off, or makes the dribble very difficult. So you see Saka get 3 every now and then, but by that time the defense has other help there to block him off. So I think a striker helps. I don't think it's like I don't think that's the one issue though. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think it's a you plug in a Ivan Toney or um, any like like straight up.
Karim Benzema.
Well, Benzema might do it, but
he's looming, Chad. He might get
Yeah.
kicked out of Saudi. You never know. I was kind of thinking. I was like, I've got another French striker for Arsenal.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think we've seen the good that Nketiah can do, but even compared to Jesus, he's just a drop off, and he works hard, but not in the way that Jesus does. Like, Jesus is more involved in the build up and getting other players involved, where Nketiah will do your pressing and all that, but otherwise it tries to play more of that number 9 role, but doesn't quite have it, I guess, to be at this level that Arsenal need him to be at least. Like, I've seen the talk of I think Brentford is looking to sign him in the winter, which I don't know if he'll go, just because Arsenal don't have another striker to really look at. Yeah. But I think he can be Premier League level, but maybe not title challenging level.
Y'all got great forwards, great midfielders. I just think you need that one more player to just bring you over the edge.
Yeah.
There was a point in this game though when I saw Jesus getting the ball back by their own corner flag, trying to get the ball out. And I was like,
I saw that and I was like, oof,
a problem.
yeah. I don't want him to contribute in the back there necessarily.
I was like, yes, he's hustling. Yes, he's doing a lot of work, but that he shouldn't be there.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you can take that little snippet of the game, and that pretty much sums up of like your striker is playing right back right now.
Yeah, dude. I'm glad you saw that too, because I kind of cringed when I saw that, and I was like, oof, yeah, that's
I mean, there's been talk of Ben White's kind of been nursing an injury, which I mean, it hasn't necessarily been confirmed, but I would believe it. He's not looked the same this season compared to last. Tomiyasu was kind of on fire, then picked up that injury, and now is going away.
Totally killed momentum.
Yeah.
What
And
about
I mean, it's just still the question mark of like what Yuri and Timber could have brought to the side. Fingers crossed he'll be able to make some appearances towards the end of the season, but not holding my breath.
and then the rumors Tierney might come back too.
I don't know. I mean, I like Tierney. I think he's a great defender, and can definitely contribute to the attack, and would probably help Martinelli because Tierney will make the overlapping run while Martinelli can tuck in a little bit more, which, as long as he can get a shot on target, should be okay. But I don't know. I feel like Arteta kind of lost his connection with Tierney once Zinchenko came in, because then it was just like, well, okay, even the games Tierney played in, he would want him to kind of play that tucked in Zinchenko role, which is just like not Tierney's game.
Yep.
So unless if Arteta's going to bring him back in and kind of swing things around and alter the tactical setup, then it could work. But if he comes back, I'm sure they're just looking for another sale or loan right away.
Yeah, that or depth. I mean, because you just don't know what the back half of this season is going to look like. But yeah, I'm glad you were able to vent. I'm glad you were able to get that out to me, baby. Feel better?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to not only talk about it, but like have a few days separation
for sure
in there.
Yeah.
Not only because I'll listen to Arscast and stuff and like hear their thoughts and read all the Reddit comments, and I mean any fan Reddit page is just like a slew of like season's over, team fucking sucks,
reactionary.
Like, yeah, so I don't try to get too lost in there, but there's from time to time some good comments, and yeah, it's maybe a little bit bummer times for Arsenal fans, but really just it's one of those times you gotta like take a step back and I think like look a little bit more big picture here. Just a week ago, Arsenal's top of the table. It's the festive period. There's a lot of games going back to back to back. Drop down to fourth now, even with City. So we're still in the running, but I don't think it's all is lost yet.
No, dude. One injury from any of these teams just throws everything off. If Salah goes down, we're screwed. Like if Villa, who could Villa lose? If Villa loses, hell, McGinn or Louise, they're done. I guess City, since they've lost their big three, that would be the one where it's like, okay, they're still going to linger. And then Arsenal, we've kind of saw if you take out Odegaard, doesn't look so great. I mean, there's a number of players that you could remove. Saka, even. I mean, the list goes on. Every team has that player. We'll see what Tottenham does without Son. West Ham against no Kudus. They couldn't score today or yesterday.
Yeah.
So yeah, you never know. But all right, we'll move on to Liverpool here.
Yeah. Get in it.
All right, my turn. Happy with the win. I thought we played great. There was nothing in there that I was really shocked by. I think this game went, according to plan. I think the Botman goal was kind of the point where we said, crap, we got to keep playing, because at 3-1, I was like, we were all cruising. I was chilling. I got my peanut M&Ms in my mouth, and then all of a sudden I said, shit, I got to pay attention again. I think the couple things that stood out to me this game was Anthony Taylor giving advantage to everything, which is fine. That's cool. I like when refs allow the game to play on. There were a couple moments when I think Liverpool wasn't sure if they wanted to keep going or not, but they ended up taking the ball anyway and doing what they had to do with it. But I've been hanging on to this. I've been dying to tell you. And I'm sure you remember when Joe Linton grabbed, I think it was Szoboszlai, and brought him to the ground. Play continued. We moved on. And Liverpool took it down the field, shot the ball, didn't make it. And they said, why aren't you giving Joe Linton this yellow card? And this new rule appeared that I didn't know about. But if an advantage happens, I'm gonna read you how I interpreted this. Rules
Hmm.
change where when an advantage ends in a shot, no yellow is given. And I find that to be the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, what?
So Chad, you could chop my leg down.
Hmm.
Advantage, you go down, you take a shot, you whiff it. No yellow for me. That's
Like,
what that rule says.
yeah, I feel like if you're gonna do that, it shouldn't be shot. It should be like a goal, right? So then at least that team benefited from the goal.
Sure.
But just a shot is you could take a shot from 50 yards out.
That doesn't make any sense. That makes no sense to me.
Yeah,
And
what
and
the
it
hell?
seemed like kind of everyone in the field, pitch,
Yeah,
staff had no idea that was a rule change either.
yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
Joe Linden got away with one there, and he was of course given a yellow card later in that game. It was just
But
like,
I'm wondering then, like, what's like the time window between advantage and the shot, right? Like, if I remember that foul happens, um, I think in Liverpool's half, like kind of towards midfield,
it's
but
about
Liverpool's
mid.
half.
Mm-hmm.
So then, yeah, there's still half the field at least to move the ball down. I feel like that's a big time window to call advantage on this, then, right? Like, that I didn't even realize, because I mean I was with all the players on that one. I was like, that's at least a yellow. Like, it was, yeah, grab down, but almost like a tomahawk kind of.
Yeah, yeah. He like he didn't slide. He went two handed and just tried to like yank him
Yeah.
down. It is Law 12, Section 3.
Hmm.
It basically says if the offense was denying the opposing team an obvious goal scoring opportunity, the player is cautioned for unsporting behavior. If the offense was interfering with or stopping a promising attack, the player is not cautioned.
What?
If the offense was interfering with or stopping a promising attack, which is what he did,
Hmm.
correct?
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, again, you're starting pretty far back, so I'm just wondering what that time window is there. Like,
And what's the rule of thumb on how bad this yellow can be? You telling
yeah,
like honestly, that doesn't make any sense.
you can have one of those tackles where it's like, it's like a dark orange, but they played the advantage and that team gets a shot and you're off scot free.
It just makes it now so teams should not shoot the ball if an advantage is given if there's a
you
yellow.
almost, yeah, you almost shouldn't play the advantage at all if you're that team.
Well, if you know a yellow is going to be given, but you don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying is if you're in a situation where, like, if this is Bruno, Joelinton, like any of these guys that kind of get a little bit wild in games, and it looks like a foul that should be a yellow, like, I guess you just stop. You don't play the advantage, right? To make sure they get the yellow now.
That was a game changing moment when he didn't get that
Yeah.
yellow.
Yeah. Because then, I mean, yeah, you see later he gets his second, well, should have been his second yellow, and would have been off. Did that just change this year, or has that been a thing?
I believe it went into effect last year. Let me
Really?
double check here.
That just seems
Um,
wild. That just seems like I don't even know. Like, I guess just not a lot of forethought put into that.
I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know, Chad. It's a weird one.
Very
So
strange.
that was the one that I was scratching my head and
Yeah.
trying to figure out
I
yellow
just
card
thought it
this
was
man.
yeah, I just thought it was Anthony Taylor being Anthony Taylor, honestly,
No,
but
Anthony Taylor was on top of
he
his
did it
shit.
right.
He was on top of his shit. He knew
He
exactly
said,
what was
"Look,
going on.
it's right here in the rule
Read
book.
the
I'm not
rules.
doing anything."
Read the rules. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think this happened this year. I think this rule change happened last year. I'll have to
Mm.
double check there and I'll let you know. But frustrating to say the least.
Yeah.
Especially because we start of the game, we looked great. We were in
Oh
total
yeah.
control. I was never worried. I was worried that we hadn't scored at halftime. So when he didn't get that yellow card before the half, I was just, I don't know, I got that icky feeling in my
Yeah,
stomach going like,
it could have been one of those games.
could have been one of those. And I'm glad it wasn't. I'm glad Mo came out strong. Granted, Isaac came in and scored right after, but then our passing was just immaculate. These long passes that we had from McAllister and even Solus cross excuse me, Gakpo, who, God, he almost messed that up too and hit it with his studs and it went in. It went in. That's all that matters. Record breaking XG. I went back and I watched.
Yeah, jeez.
Did you see the video? Go look on the Liverpool subreddit. Someone cut it up to show how we got to that XG, and it's like, wow, that's a lot. But I was like, damn, we should have crushed these guys even harder.
Yeah.
Nunez, man, when he missed Salah on the layoff, that was frustrating. When he had the breakaway, that was frustrating. When he shot it again after the breakaway, that was frustrating. Dude, I was just like, oh my God, please. And then when he finally laid it off to Salah, I was like, just do that every time. That's you don't need to be
first
that
time.
guy.
Yeah, when he didn't lay it off, it was like, I mean, we were texting in the Discord about it anyway, but it was just like so old Nunez. Like I thought we'd set up this connection of like, you can pass to Salah. It's like, that's cool. And then he did it and he kept doing it. And I thought he figured it out.
We literally talked about it last week. I was so happy with him. And now 20 minutes in, I was going, not this again. Like, he doesn't need to be this guy. And he wants to be this guy. He doesn't have to be this guy. He can be this guy later. Once
he can be this guy this month when Mo's away. Like,
for sure. Because Mo's not going to be there. He's not going to be on his side. He just
exactly.
I know it's only been a year and a half or whatever. But, Nunez is still on. He's on like Suarez pace right now in terms of goals. Okay. He scores a goal every 100 minutes, so it's like
it's not bad.
You can't be mad at that. And it'll hopefully continue to climb. I think the main, other than that, the Joe Linton card and how good our passing and attack was. I think the big thing was the Jota dive, which I think that's. Every person has their own opinion about that right now. And I see so many comments from Liverpool, Newcastle fans disagreeing with everything about it. And for me personally, I believe that is a penalty because Dubravka made contact with Jota's ankle. And if you make contact with a goal scoring opportunity on the player who's trying to strike the ball, and they go down, I don't understand how that's not a foul. And I want you to hit me back with the counter, and I'm gonna hit you back with the counter.
Yeah, like I don't necessarily have a full counter for you. Like I think it ends up looking more divey than I think it maybe is, because he does kind of take this like extra step and a half-ish past it and then falls.
Can you call it a delayed reaction?
You could, but then I think that points to like the contact not being enough to make him go down, which in the penalty box the contact gets a little weird.
But keeper's the one where it's like that's a no-no. Especially when you miss. The keeper didn't touch the ball. The keeper made contact with Jota. Do you agree?
Yeah, I'd say it's minimal though.
Soft. Great. He did it. Would you say Dubravka disrupted his chance to score a goal because he made contact with him?
See, that's where it gets hard.
I think that's clear as day.
But I don't know because it's hard in the way
he hit his ankle with his elbow.
But it's hard because he does kind of continue his run, right? Like,
yeah, he takes one step with his off leg.
But it's like a pretty for sure step, and like he doesn't look like he's falling anytime soon, and then all of a sudden he falls. So I think while there's contact, it's probably too minimal to make him fall. But in the penalty area, contact is looked at differently than, and fouls are looked at differently than anywhere else on the pitch. Like, I'm just trying to think, remove the penalty box here, and it's just like a player maybe falling and hitting in the same way, or with his foot hitting his ankle or something outside of the penalty area, and then he goes down. I don't think that gets called a foul. I think it'd be too minimal for the ref to say, like, yeah, you got unfairly tackled.
But it was the last man to goal.
Yeah, but you're back in the penalty box, though.
Do you think he scores if he doesn't go down?
Oh, yeah.
So why do you think he went down?
He won the penalty.
No, dude, no, because it was a foul. He got fouled. I'm telling you. I don't think he would go. This isn't the type of player who's diving all the time either, right? He does not have that reputation. So that's why it was just mind-boggling that's the reaction we're getting. When you can clearly see the keeper making contact. It's not like you don't see contact. It's not like the keeper didn't touch him. Everyone sees the keeper touched him.
Yeah, but I think, again, it's like there is allowed to be contact in the box, right? It's not like no contact at all, right?
Not like that. Not for a keeper, though. Not like that. You're not shouldering. You're not running parallel with him. You're coming like this at each other, right? Head on. And
yeah.
The keeper missed. He missed the ball, and he hit him in the leg.
Yeah, but again, I think because he kind of takes this continued step after, it looks more divey than I think it is.
We could go back and forth all day on this one, which I'm glad. I'm glad we disagree on things. It makes for interesting conversation.
Look, all I'm gonna say here is Havertz had a penalty overturned when Arsenal played United, because a guy, I think it was maybe Wan-Bissaka, came in and it kind of forced Havertz between Wan-Bissaka and someone, I forget who else, and initially called a pen on the field, but then they went back, slowed it down, and you see Kai kind of take this step, and his leg kind of gets hit from Wan-Bissaka, but then they overturn it, right? So that's the thing in my mind of, like, if that contact was minimal enough to overturn the penalty, this feels like about the same. I get it's like, the keeper on Jota here, so
that's the biggest
a little bit different in that sense.
But last man.
Yeah, but like I think it's with the minimal amount of contact and the delayed reaction of Jota that makes it look more like a dive than it probably is.
Well, he falls. He falls ridiculously. He did like the knee down flop thing.
So like it wasn't like a clear he got taken out.
No, I'm not saying he got taken out.
No, I know. So, but that's what I'm saying is, like, if it was a more clear and maybe more immediate fall, I think a lot of people would be on the same page with this. But I think because there is that, like, as brief as it is, that little window after the contact, it looks more like a dive than I mean, I think, like, I don't think it's a dive necessarily. I think I'm okay with this being called a penalty.
And I think Havertz's move that he made is if we're gonna grade penalties, that should have been a penalty over this one. If we're gonna pick and choose, because
I think it's just it's the contact in the penalty box. It gets weird. Fouls get weird in there. Like sometimes a foul in the box is not a foul outside of the box sometimes, and I think this is kind of in that same realm of, like, there is contact. He does go down, but I think if you replay that outside of the penalty box, I don't think Anthony Taylor calls anything.
So if you think the keeper's outside of the penalty box and he touches him there and he goes down,
well, it'd have to be a little bit different, right? Like,
exact same thing.
But he can't.
Of the box.
I mean, he can't dive at him in the same way out of the box, right? Because then, even if he gets the ball, it's a red card for purposely diving and handling the ball.
I argued this maybe could have been a red card.
I don't think they do that double jeopardy thing anymore.
They got rid of that.
I think so. Otherwise, yeah, I think that's a fair argument because like you are the last man. But I think they kind of did away with that because it's like kind of double punishment if you concede the penalty. Yeah, so I don't know. Like, I'm okay with this. It is one of the softest ones we'll see this season, but
it changed nothing. The outcome,
no, yeah.
The thing was Newcastle. I went to Newcastle subreddit because I was like dying to see what they were saying. Of course, so salty. They were saying this killed our energy in the last remaining minutes of the game. And I was like, you didn't have energy for the first 80. I was like, you can't say this was the deal breaker for you. Of course, I'm not replying. No. I'm not saying that to anyone, but
I mean, like, if anything, it just takes away from like how well Dubravka was actually performing that game. He made some great saves, kept Newcastle in it for vast majority of the time he was out there. So yeah, like this goal didn't really mean much, but it's also just like a bummer to like see that he made this error to make it worse for Newcastle.
And if he doesn't make contact with Jota goes around him and he scores. Honestly, that's what I think happens.
So yeah, I mean, either way is probably a goal.
It was just weird. It was a weird situation, weird place. I definitely laughed and I was like, oh boy. Dubravka came out and said he kind of vaguely put it as I accept the referee's decision. He didn't say he liked it or agreed with it, but he said he accepted it. So what does that mean? I don't know. It can mean anything. Interpret it how you want. But
I mean that. Like I saw that post pop up too, and like the title was kind of worded, clickbaity, right? Of like Dubravka agrees. Like,
no, go read the actual article and you'll see.
Which I think is just your normal player response to a decision like that, right? Like if it was a game-defining decision, he might have had a stronger comment. But in that sense, like, what are you gonna do? Just get a fine here for no reason? Like.
And honestly, in real time, I think Anthony Taylor. In real time, it does look like a PK, and and I think when you slow things down, obviously you can get every little frame of it, and of course, the decision stood. But if we didn't have any slow motion, I think most people would be okay with that happening because it just doesn't make any sense why he would go down there. But that's my Liverpool event. We won. Great, top of the table.
Yeah, there you
go. We can move on and be happy. And Arsenal this weekend. FA Cup should be fun. Again, the cups are like just a little extra. Nothing too spicy for me. Now, it'll be good that we have a little rivalry in it, but
I mean, I think Arteta will go pretty strong with it just to try and look for a bounce back reaction sort of thing. I would think Liverpool probably go, if not full strength, mostly there.
Borderline. We got to get our guys healthy. We're probably gonna make some late subs. McAllister probably won't start. I imagine we'll see Gakpo in there. We'll see probably Jota get the start to get him back to form. No Salah. We're not gonna probably see Virgil. I doubt we'll see Trent. I don't know. It'll be. I'm curious what we put together. I won't be super upset if we lose it. I just hope those guys like Harvey Elliott, Curtis Jones can get some time in because I think that's the depth we're going to need kind of late in the season. When we need a spark off the bench to come in and grab something, these games right now will help.
Yeah. I do have to bring up, is Mohamed Salah a Kudus fan? Does a celebration or kind of a celebration twice in this game? Is he pointing Liverpool saying, like, we got to bring this guy here? I don't know.
That'd be crazy. I mean, Bowen was my guy to replace Salah, and I still think that's looming because I think Kudus could then be like Bowen's replacement. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I'd be pumped on it. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, the celebration was very similar. No one sat with Mo, I don't think, though, when he went in.
I don't think so.
When he
Yeah.
went on the
Yeah.
billboard, I think they said, "What are you doing?" Um, yeah, that's all I got in my notes here.
Yeah. You know, nothing else really to add. Like Liverpool, I guess I will shout out Diaz. This is probably like one of the best
Oh,
games I've seen him play.
it was great.
So I hope he kind of continues to roll with that. When he's on it like this, he's exciting to watch, and I think that left wing for Liverpool's certainly not been the same since Mane left. Jota can do a job there, but you kind of need. I don't think Jota or Diaz will be Mane levels. So I think if they can both kind of be competing to start, then you're going to get the best out of both of them.
Yep. The rotation's fine with me. I mean, we got so many strikers and so many forwards. We need to kind of figure out the right rotation. But yeah, couldn't agree more. And last but not least, Chad, Brighton, West Ham. Not much to say, but hey, we can say this. Brighton got a clean sheet.
Finally, after 23 games? 2, 3?
20, I think 23 sounds right. 23 games.
Yeah.
Dating back to last season. Brighton gets a clean sheet. West Ham fails to score, which I feel like they've been doing a lot of recently. Pretty boring game on my telly here. Nothing really too shocking, man. Players were kind of missing. Players are still injured. Areola played great though. Lots of great saves. But that was about it.
Yeah. I thought both teams had like a couple really great opportunities, but just no one could take advantage.
Yep. Nice to see Ward-Prowse though playing in the 10 role. I think they're starting to figure that out quickly, and once they get Paqueta and Kudos in there, that front six is kind of wild. Yeah. And we don't even have Mikel Antonio in here, so if you could have Antonio, Bowen, Kudus playing that like diamond up top, Ward-Prowse playing behind, then you got another stacked mid of Paqueta, Souček, and Alvarez. Like that's solid. That's solid.
Yeah. I think that's definitely the blueprint for West Ham going forward. I think it gives them enough stability and then keeps a lot of the creativity out there in the areas where they should be. Like it's not this Ward-Prowse pushed back and having to try and create some long ball opportunity.
And Souček's just so attack heavy too. He'll go up there and act like a second striker. And this team is so fascinating. I mean, I didn't even talk about the defense and their wing backs and how forward they play. Again, one to watch
for sure.
Yeah. Brighton, they got some work to do still.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Did you see De Zerbi's freak out?
Yeah.
Do you know what
I think
said?
No.
I will quote him. Why does he not understand? Why does he not understand? How does he not understand? Why does he not understand? As he slapped the chair.
God.
That's pretty much
what
he
talking about.
I don't know. No one knows that. And I was trying to figure it out and read it. Someone translated it in the Reddit comments by lip reading. Love lip readers. It's fantastic. But don't know who he was talking about. I'm guessing Estupiñán just because he's back. Maybe he doesn't fully grasp what's going on. I feel like he's the type of player who is very smart, and when De Zerbi doesn't get the best out of him, he can have that reaction. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm definitely unsure. I feel like it's definitely someone in the attacking role though.
Okay.
So
yeesh. I mean, I'm sure they already got their 40 lashes from that, but I feel like it would be funny if they didn't have that yet, and then they come on Reddit and like see this freak out, and they're like, "Oh shit! Like, what time was this? Am I on the pitch now?" Or
yeah, dude, right? I know. Being an athlete, or don't read comments if you're an athlete.
Nah, yeah,
it's never good for you. Happy birthday, James Milner. He is getting really close, Chad. He's 20 games away from being the all-time EPL games played leader.
And then he can finally retire?
No, he gets to play the game now.
Yeah, I saw that pop up today, and I feel like at this point you got to go for it, right? You can't retire now. Like,
make it. Brian will hang around, but I imagine De Zerbi will get Milner in there. Hopefully, every chance he gets.
yeah. I mean, at this point, just like whether he sticks with Brighton or goes somewhere else, just put it in his contract of like, look, I need 10 more appearances. Just like, that's all. Get me in,
please. I'll play anywhere. Literally.
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay, Chad. I think we did it. Let's get to our nominations here, shall we? Shall we start with player?
Sure.
I'll take the initiative here. It's got to be Cole Palmer for me this week. Great feet, great touch, great banger of a goal too. Chelsea needed all the goals they can get in that game, so he earns my shout.
Yeah. Yeah, he was definitely first on my list. I also had Foden, the 2 assists, 1 shot on target, 6 key passes, but I mean it's against Sheffield, so. And then Elise, 2 goals, 3 shots on target. Salah gets the shout out for almost completing the full stat line across the board, right? Like missed PK, 2 goals, an assist, number of shots on target.
What did he miss? Yellow card, red card?
The cards for sure, and then
he had clearance. No clearance. No clearance.
Yeah, no clearance. Yeah. No tackles, interception, clearance, or blocks. So, but he did commit a foul. So he almost had it all, which maybe doesn't deserve you player of the week, but at least a mention.
We'll note it. Shout outs to Braka. I mean, he was.
Yeah.
If he isn't there, Liverpool breaks probably the record for XGs even more. His presence
that could have been that could have been a Liverpool versus Man U game without his saves.
Very close. And I think because he was playing so good, it made Liverpool think differently with their shots. Hence why Trent was taking one outrageous shot. We didn't even talk about that almost goal of the year. And then
that would have went in.
Lord. And then even the solid miss PK and Trent just bangs it over the top like that. Yeah. Like looking at that, like that should have been a goal too. So shout outs to him for just being an absolute beast back there and making it competitive somewhat for Newcastle, or at least making them not die too early. So that's all good shouts. I don't know. You want to give it to anyone?
I mean, I think Palmer's the front runner here.
Without Palmer, Chelsea don't win.
Certainly, yeah.
That's how I kind of looked at that one. Club, Chad?
I got Forest and Fulham. Forest taking down Man U, which is first time ever, so it's big. Man U's not at their greatest, certainly, but should be able to beat Forest. And that's just good fun football to watch when United lose.
Game, man. It was such I watched almost that whole game. And it was a blast.
Yeah. And then Fulham for if not completely beating Arsenal, at least taking advantage of Arsenal on a really bad day. And they put in great effort and were all over the pitch and kept Arsenal quiet because, without that Saka goal early on, I don't think Arsenal get anything in the net. So I like those two for me.
Yeah, I like both of those picks. I was going to say the same. It's hard to say who should get this one, really. I liked how Forest got their first one, especially at home against Man U.
Yeah.
But I like how Fulham, coming off three losses in a row, needed to find something, and they got their striker back and made it work. So I think for this one, I'm going to go Fulham over Arsenal, just to kind of say, sorry, Arsenal. They got one over you.
I mean, yeah. It really kind of to this season. They, pulled back the draw early on this season and now got the win here. So Fulham is Arsenal's new bogey team, maybe.
Coming alive. Goal, Chad. The goals. Saw some nice ones this week.
There's some nice ones.
I think for me, the Olise one, that was a pretty hit. Again, the Palmer one, just pretty feet, twinkle toes coming in. I thought that was super nice. I just lost my screen. The kid from Brentford, I gave him a shout out earlier.
Lewis Potter,
great hit. Like that one a lot. Yeah, I think that would do it. The Sun goal was nice too.
Yeah. I'm kind of leaning Palmer on this one too. Just because it's a great show of control, and then also kind of restraint to not just blast it right away. Like there's that brief moment where he could have shot, and I think it probably would have got blocked by the defender sliding in, but he sees that coming and gets around. So I think he's probably my pick. Otherwise, Elise's second goal, where he kind of dribbles in and gets that shot off, is pretty sweet.
No, I like the Palmer one. I mean, I think he put 3 players on their butts.
Yeah.
And that's when you can break some ankles like that.
Without that goal, that game's a draw. So
the bailout again. Sounds good. All right, Chad. Now it's time for the favorite part.
Oof.
This is tough. We got some good ones, Chad. I know we've been posting them in Discord. Klopp losing the wedding ring, that's definitely up there for me.
It's up there.
That's really close to winning. Klopp's duplicate over in Luton, close second. The Man United legend falling asleep at the game, that's a great one too. Mo Salah changing out his boots at halftime and becoming a world-class player again. I saw the post-game interview for that game, and they asked him about it, and he said, he's like, it was in my head too much. He's like, if I just had these shoes on for the rest of the game, I wouldn't play well. So I had to get rid of them. And I was like, that's fascinating how superstitious these guys are.
Yeah, wow.
And but hey, he's so honest about it. Whatever works,
I mean, like, not to say if he didn't change his boots, like, this wouldn't have still happened, but for him to do that, and he performed so much better, I guess it works.
Yeah, right. You're gonna say like, yeah, you shouldn't do that next time. He's gonna do it every time.
Yeah. The Fulham fan after they scored their second.
Yeah,
that was pretty good.
It was a sad house over here when that was happening.
And I like, it's not gonna win it, but Gibbs White gets that little spin move on Varane as he's walking with the ball.
Did you hear what he said afterwards?
No.
I reckon I should play in the NFL.
It was pretty tight spin. It
was good. Well, it was solid. I'm sure there's so much more. I don't know if we can. Maybe I'll start subbing to all the EPL teams Reddits, because I'm sure they're flowing through there nicely.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know, Chad. They're all winners. They really are. I don't know how we can.
Meme of the week is less of a contest and more of just look how crazy this game is.
Love it.
Yeah. I think if I did have to pick one, it would be Klopp with the wedding ring, just because you can see the panic in him and then the immediate relief.
I'm surprised he didn't ask for help. I'm sure if he didn't find it in that time frame, he would have been like, get a metal detector out here or something. Luckily he lost it so close to. I want to know how it fell off though.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was wondering. I mean, my only thought was like maybe he kind of like fiddles with it when he's nervous or sure, stressed or whatever, and then it like didn't fully seat back on. So then as he's walking around, just slid off. But I mean, yeah, glad he realized then and not when he's already back in the locker room. And then it's like that ring is at any point on that field then.
Yeah, right. Newcastle would take it and hold it hostage if they needed to. You can have this back next year.
Real.
All right, Chad. I think we nailed it. Solid episode. Good chatting with you. Little break here, but I'm sure maybe we'll do a little segment on our game this weekend. Arsenal and Liverpool on the 7th. Other than that, I think we're good. Yeah. Chilling like a villain. All right. Episode 50 something or rather 57.
7?
I think it's 57. All right. With that, episode 57, Hooligans Pitch. We are out. Peace.